Open starts. 6 weeks before, she had no idea that she would be ready. Currently ranked number 8 in the world. Champion here in 1997.
.30 love. Martina's early round results. Nice win over Amanda Kutzer, 3-4.
Bit of a struggle in that first round. Was up a set 5-3 against Irvin. Had trouble closing it out. That's not a big surprise coming back from being off so long. That match toughness is something that you can't get other than playing the matches. You can practice all you want. Two have played 19 times.
I think they know their games pretty well.
I think they do. Hingis has won 15 of those.
Early break point for Seles.
This is what I thought. I thought Monica Seles needed to get a quick start.
That's what she got. The change ends.
Remember, this is the last fourth round match. The other 7 quarterfinalists. These two competing to play Venus Williams in the quarters. And the winner of that match would play either Mauresmo or Capriati.
Would it be fair to say that they both came into the Open this year with somewhat limited expectations?
Lesser expectations, yeah. I would, yeah, because they just haven't played that much. You mentioned the 2 tournaments that Hingis played, getting to the quarters of Montreal, lost to Dokic in straight sets, lost to the quarters of New Haven. Martina Hingis was up a set and 4-1, a point for 5-1 against Messina in the quarters, and again couldn't close that match out and just got pooped out, lost 11 games in a row. Seles even has less under her belt. She's only played a couple of matches, 1 tournament in Stanford, lost early to Lisa Raymond in straight sets, and then pulled out of a couple tournaments with foot problems.
It was fun over the weekend. They ran a tape of Monica's wonderful match as a teenager against young Jennifer Capriati, and just so fresh, and that game was tremendous. I mean, it was, I think it mentioned at the time, really the first example of pure power tennis in a match.
Well, pure power. There was before you had Steffi with the big forehand, you had Martina Navratilova with the big serve and volley, but Monica with the power off of both sides. Bakshi, 3-3. Barbara Schwartz, she had a lot to handle there, but finally took it 6-2 in the third against Cho, also 3 sets. So not cruising like we've seen her in the past.
14-30.
It's going to be important for Monica Seles. Mike Sell on the left. He's been Monica's coach since last summer. Tony Gotzik, her agent. It's going to be important for Monica to get a high percentage of first serves and serve that big. She was playing her best tennis. That was a big weapon.
First double and deuce. Now, we mentioned the weather today. It's very warm, and it's possible that fitness could be an issue. This is goes on. Certainly for Martina Hingis, considering the layoff because of injury.
Also for Monica Seles with a foot injury, but you know, the only way that you can work aerobically in a pool, try to keep that aerobic capacity on a bike. Obviously, no sprints, no running, tough to do footwork drills.
Seles in the round of 16 for the 11th time. And that's a pretty good record.
Just so consistent over her career. Monica has been ranked #1 in the world over 178 weeks.
15.
Hingis, on the other hand, 209. So it's kind of amazing to look at them play now in the round of 16.
Love. There you go. Most weeks at #1. Right in there.
There have been 11 #1s on the women's side since the rankings started on the computer. Good depth from Hingis. When she was at the top, Bill, her depth was great, just 2 or 3 feet from the baseline, mixed in with those beautiful angles, and that's what Hingis is going to want to do today. Try to widen the court against Seles, make her move,
40-50.
Get her off balance. Because Seles, not the best mover out there, and also with 2 hands on both sides, the reach is limited. 2 great points.
Okay, Hingis.
Oh, excuse me.
So 2-1, Monica Seles is up. An early break. Around the National Tennis Center have gotten a lot of water in the last 2 days. They should be looking very good.
Or drown.
2-1 first set. Seles and Hingis. Open court. You know, the debate within women's tennis has been whether or not Martina Hingis can compete, as smart as she plays and how solid she is in all aspects of her game, if she can compete with the raised bar from the Williams sisters.
Without the powerful serve. And that's, you know, not too many people on the side that think that she can. Just doesn't have that big serve to give her the free points, the cheap points the Williams sisters are allowed, that Davenport is allowed. And her ground strokes aren't as powerful as either. I mean, she's a thinking player out there, outmaneuvers her opponent, hits the angles, hits the spins, moves into the net. And, you know, it'd be one thing if she had nothing to improve on that serve, but the fact is that technically she can improve it so much. You know, get more body into the serve, a little more rotation. She pretty much faces the net and uses a lot of arm. We had Martina Navratilova on the other night, and you're talking about the fact that she changed some of her strokes, added to them. They became much better mid-career, especially Martina's backhand. So it is possible. Obviously, it's tough to do because you lose a little confidence while you're doing it. But didn't Tiger retool his stroke?
Tiger did. In fact, after winning in record fashion for the first time at Augusta National, he went back, and what that showed him was that his sprint, he felt his swing would not hold up to the length of his career and under pressure situations every time for the consistency that he wanted. So he went back and for about a year retooled everything.
He's playing pretty well now.
Yeah, I've heard that. Deuce.
Gets up to that ball, still with the two hands. And you'll see Monica hit with the one hand a little more frequently. When she gets off balance. Now that's what Martina Hingis did so well at the Australian Open that allowed her to get to the finals. She didn't have the power, but she's standing in closer, standing on the baseline, hitting it earlier so that it gets to her opponent faster. Don't have as much time to react. I think that she can be even more aggressive, come to the net more. She has terrific volleys.
When you played an opponent as many times as these two have seen each other, are there any surprises, or do you know what you have to do, each one does, and you try to do the job?
Yeah, they're not going to be surprises. It's, who's going to play more aggressively under control. Controlled aggression, where you're playing close to the baseline, taking some chances and big points. Who's moving better that day? I mean, Hingis has talked about the fact that she's maybe not quite as quick because she's just coming back from that injury in the ankle. Great depth.
So we're back on serve, 2-all. I would think this too is a very good gauge on where each player is in terms of their games.
Monica looking for the call, the fans whistling, and looking at that match the other day with Capriati and Seles, it was amazing how the fans were so pro Capriati. Ever since Monica was taken out of the game with the stabbing, she's come back, and most everywhere she goes, the fans are behind her.
Point for Hingis, Monica's return here to the Open. When she finally came back, had a nice showing in Canada the week before, and the reception that she got and her reaction to that reception was truly one of the great moments in U.S. Open history.
She was out for 27 months. She was at the top of the game, totally dominating, and things totally changed women's tennis, the history of women's tennis. 7 of her last Grand Slams played prior to the stabbing, and only once since. That was the Australian in '96.
All. And 40-30, 2-all first set. Martina Hingis and Monica Seles. There's that power we saw an awful lot of in 1991.
That we had never seen before off both sides, and now it's become routine. Monica hit so much harder than everybody then.
I saw a lot of that power in the last match here. Chanda Rubin and Venus Williams.
Before Monica came along, people would wait nice and steady, and the point was just to keep it going until you got a shot. Now, with Monica, she came along, it's almost every shot she was trying to end the point.
So Hingis holds 3-2, and let's go down to Chris.